Hey everyone, welcome to another Halloween! In today's video, the second Halloween video out of 4 Halloween videos, the second week of October, I wanted to talk about some scary games. But not just any scary games, I wanted to talk about 10 specific video games. Now this is not gonna be a top 10 of the scariest games or a top 10 of the goriest games or the best ones. I wanted to talk about 10 different games that all have their own unique quality as to why you should try it out. I do hope, if you have not played any of these games on this list, that you will select one to try out for this Halloween. I don't feel enough for you to cry. One of the first ones I want to talk about is Project 05. Project 05, also known as Fatal Frame in America, I couldn't think of it. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. This is on this list for a few reasons. One, it's without a doubt one of the scariest games I know. I feel Asian horror, anything that is like Japanese, Chinese, or Korean specifically, is always really scary. Maybe it's because a lot of the lore and the stories is just foreign to us. I do not know what it is. Maybe it's the way they depict their ghosts. And you will find a lot of that in Project Zero. You play as a girl who has a camera that can see ghosts. And you're walking through these scary forests in these scary houses. The setting by itself is scary already. These ghosts are really well done and the gameplay mechanic is amazing with the camera. But another reason I would really like you to try out Maiden of Blackwater, Project 05, or Fatal Frame 5, whatever you want to call it, is that it criminally underperformed. The sales were kind of horrendous for it, and it doesn't help that Nintendo of America never released it physical on the Wii U. We in Europe, fortunately, were blessed with a special edition even. But now they ported it over to Switch, to PC. I want to say even on PlayStation 4. I'm not exactly sure. I should have probably looked it up. But either way, please check this one out. It's an amazing game. It is absolute art and one of the scariest games I do know.
「人には見えないものが見える小塚優里は神隠しにあった人たちの影を追ってかつて霊場として崇められた氷上山へ足を踏み入れる。次々に襲い来る霊に対抗できる唯一の手段はありえないものを映すカメラ遮影機。死の山、幽魂、神隠し。3人の主人公はそれぞれの思いを胸に氷上山に秘められた儀式の謎に迫っていく。美しき恐怖再び。
Next up on this list, we go to the Genesis, or as we culture people like to call it, the Mega Drive. Splatterhouse 2. Splatterhouse 2 is on this list for two reasons as well. One, it's an iconic horror game. Look at that cover alone. Splatterhouse has a huge history, it's a great game, but most of all, you're basically Jason fighting the aliens, there's gore and ghosts. This game is absurd. It is a true ultimate Halloween experience, I feel. And it is a game that anybody who likes to dabble into retro gaming should try out. Splatterhouse 2 is, in my opinion, one of the most iconic horror games in existence. Next up on this list, a little bit of unique. Curse Mountain. Curse Mountain is on this list of games you really should try out because not a lot of people talk about this. Ironically, I was planning to talk about Curse Mountain for several months for this Halloween, and then Robert of Gaming with We, he bought the game and then got it. We were talking about it, and all of a sudden in the group we're talking about it. But I wanted to talk about Curse Mountain for this Halloween series this year. Curse Mountain has a unique setting. There was an expedition in Himalayas and it got lost. I think your brother was a part of it and you're part of the rescue team. So you're going into these mountains and there's all these amazing Himalayan settings. You have all these Buddhist temples and the main gimmick is that you're banishing ghosts. And a lot of people who watch my videos regularly know I despise motion controls. But Curse Mountain has some of the best motion controls out there. And they use them in a very unique way because you're banishing these ghosts with actual sigils that you're performing like a priest would. And that gives such a unique aspect. So you have the unique motion controls, the unique settings. I feel the Wii is not talked about enough when it comes to games, specifically because it had a lot of great exclusives. And Curse Mountain is a game you should definitely check out. Plus, it's not even that expensive these days.
Where the hell are you?
Where are you?
You think of Buddhism as a religion of peace. Did you never wonder why all our monks learned to fight?
The next game is on this list because it's retro, and I wanted to put retro games on this list so that we cover all grounds. But it's also on this list for a different reason. A lot of people don't think of this game when we're talking about horror games or scary games, but I wanted to put this on this list because personally, as a kid, this game would freak me out. And that is The Simpsons, but versus the Space Mutants. I love this game. The cover alone already is really good with all the chaos, just like on the back. And I always love this game. Now, it's scary because one, it's hard. It's a hard game and it's unforgiving. But it's actually scary because it's actually scary. At least when I was a kid, I grew up with the NES. I'm from '84. So I grew up with this game. And the younger you are, the more susceptible you are to certain things, I guess. And that's why it always stuck with me when I played this game. There's this like angst coming over me. So you're walking through Springfield to well-known locations and there's people walking around. And the goal is to, I think it was to paint things purple because purple scared the ghost. So everything that is red, you have to paint it purple with a spray can and you play as Bart. And you can go on like a skateboard and all that kind of stuff. It feels Simpsony. It feels very Simpsony. There's a really cool opening cinematics as well. And the scary thing is, you have these glasses. I think they're called X-Specs or whatever. I don't remember if it's on there or not. But anyway. And what they do in this game is what the movie They Live did. They Live is one of my favorite horror movies. It's a bit campy, but it's very effective. It's about a guy and the world has apparently already been overrun by aliens, but nobody knows it. And he wears these glasses and it shows you the aliens. And that's what The Simpsons, but versus the Space Mutants, does as well. You can activate these glasses, like you can put them on, and the whole screen goes into this weird red and black mode. And when you see characters walk on the screen, they look like normal Simpson characters. But when you put the glasses on, you see like tentacles coming out of their heads. It's really freaky. It's really freaky. And it's so good. And I consider it a horror game. I used to consider it like this. And I still feel it works like that. Now, it is hard. I never actually finished it. That's how hard it is. And I've tried several times throughout the years. And I want to try it again. But that's one of the things about old school gaming. It used to be a lot harder. But again, it's just scary. Next up on this list, Luigi's Mansion 3. It has to be on this list, but it has unique reasons for being on this list. Number one, it's one of the most beautiful games out there. It's an absolutely beautiful game. It's very atmospheric. I like also all the animations of Mario and Luigi and all the characters, the way they're animated, the story that is in there. I also really like the fact that it's a horror game for kids. It's kid friendly, and I mean every game could be kid friendly, but I wouldn't suggest playing Project Zero with your 8-year-old, you know. But I mean Luigi's Mansion is for everybody, and another big reason I feel it should be on this list, because it's unique in the sense that it has incredible multiplayer, where you're just 1 through 4 people. I feel even I've done it co-op a lot, but I think you can do it right up to 4 people, and everybody's on the floor of the hotel, going around looking for these ghosts, and you're hunting together, and it's just fun. It's a fun and beautiful horror game, and it is horror, no matter what you'd like to think. It's a great game, and it has to be on this list of games you should really check out. But I do feel that people who watch this video, who own a Nintendo Switch, most likely have already played this anyway. That doesn't change the fact that it has to be on this list. More people should play this because it's art. Next up, I want to talk about horror movies. Alien is without a doubt the greatest movie ever made. And by default, it makes it the greatest horror movie ever made. And there's been a bunch of hit and miss about Alien games. But they released an incredible piece of art not that long ago. Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation is in a way a spiritual successor to the original Alien, and it keeps those original Alien vibes. You're alone on the ship, you're trying to like find out what happened. There's one xenomorph on this ship, and it's like a cat and mouse kind of game. You're trying to escape, trying to hide, slowly discovering what happened on the ship. You're finding a bit more survivors. The people are taken down by the alien. It is art as a horror game, and one of the reasons I like it is because it's pure atmospheric horror. The exact same way the original Alien movie did. Those vibes are in this game. And Alien Isolation, I feel, is a must-play video game. It is really good, and it looks amazing. And for people who are into graphics and stuff, the lighting alone makes Alien Isolation just true horror.
I hope you get to hear it one day.
How can I help you?
Don't worry about me. I'm sure I'll see you very soon.
I have another horror movie franchise related video game. So let's talk about it. One of the most iconic horror franchises in existence, The Addams Family. I love The Addams Family, of course. And there's been quite a few Addams Family games. They actually released one recently. I'm not a big fan. It's based off the animated movie they did. But there's a video game on the Super Nintendo that is on this list. But I just quickly wanted to mention, it's not on this list, but I wanted to mention Festus Quest. This cover art scared the crap out of me as a kid. And I do actually like this game. You play as Uncle Fester, you're going through the city kinda, you're hunting down aliens in these 3D mazes. It's a weird game, but I don't want to put it on this list because apart from the cover, you know, if you replace Fester with another character, it doesn't feel very Addams Family like, apart from the fact that you meet some of the characters. But that game that I have talked before and that I want to talk again is The Addams Family on the Super Nintendo. The Addams Family on the Super Nintendo is not just the best Addams Family game, it is one of the best Super Nintendo games in my opinion. I love it that much. You play as Gomez and you have to look, it's I don't want to call it open world, but that's kind of what it is. You have the mansion and you're free to go wherever you want. You're looking for your family members and you have to traverse the mansion, the cemetery, the plant gardens, the greenhouse and that kind of stuff. And you can travel through all these locations, you know. You go into the mansion, into the houses, into the armory. Then you can do all these rooms in the mansions. And then you can go under the mansion, into the caves, and into like the boat area. They take elements from the movies. They put it in this game. They have like these portraits in the game as well that are realistic depictions of the actual actors and stuff. And I love that. It's so good. But the rest of the game in general has this quite chibi vibe. And it's art. It's a perfect game. I like the music. I like the setting. I like how it takes aspects from the movies and they put it in the game. And the best thing is you're just free to explore. And you're so free that they help you with traversal. There's boots that make you run faster. There's a helicopter propeller hat that you can fly around on top of the mansion, on the roofs and everything. And it's a great game. And I feel it is a game that nobody ever really talks about. And it's just really that good. So if you own a Super Nintendo, or if you love the Super Nintendo, you have to check out The Addams Family. Next game I want to talk about is, it used to be an iconic horror franchise and it's just not anymore, and it was fighting for a comeback and for some reason it didn't get it. I think the comeback was because of Hideo Kojima and Del Toro working together. I don't know if I got the details right on that. It's Silent Hill. Silent Hill used to be the rival of Resident Evil. You kind of like how you're either Sega or Nintendo, or you're like Star Wars or Star Trek, you were Silent Hill or Resident Evil. And the original Resident Evil games, the first few, were amazing horror games. But after starting from the fourth game, it became a shooter. And it never became really scary anymore. And I feel recently they're trying to get back into that, but now the whole vibe is different because they go on this first person road. It's strange. But Silent Hill has always been incredible horror. But at one point it just died. I think they had a remake still on the Wii, and I want to say that's the last we ever heard of it. You have Silent Hill 1 and 2, which are just iconic video games. And I'm not naming a specific game. Here's the thing, because this is the beauty with Silent Hill. You can pick any Silent Hill game and you will experience a great horror story. Because every Silent Hill game really is survival horror, and some of them is really messed up stories. And Resident Evil feels, no matter what, the same thing over and over, or the same one story. And Silent Hill just, I feel, did it better. I feel they did it better. And they tried to come back with the PT demo, and then it just vanished, and everybody was mad about that. And I understand, because I want Silent Hill to come back. Now, the one Silent Hill game I haven't played yet, and it's actually on my list of games I want to play more than anything, is Silent Hill 4, The Room. And I just want to play this game so bad, and I don't want to look things up about it. I only know a few details, and that's the game that I want to try to pick up still. But Silent Hill is an incredible franchise, and it is considered a dead franchise by me at this point, especially because the revival really failed. And it is a franchise that any horror fan should check out, because the Silent Hill games, in my opinion, are pure horror, and the stories are just amazing. There's 2 games left on this list, and one game, I've mentioned it before. Mr. T of the Mr. T channel actually mentions it a lot too, because he knows art, and that is Fragile Dreams, Farewell Ruins of the Moon. It's quite a handful, this title. I love this artwork. It is the best Wii game ever made, in my opinion. I was going to say Farewell Ruins of the Moon, I tend to call it that. Fragile Dreams is a unique horror game, which is why it's on this list. It's absolutely unique in the sense that even the director himself wanted people to acknowledge that it's not a horror game, it's a drama game. He wanted to create this new thing, but when it comes down to it, it's a horror game. It's a dramatic horror game. It is crazy. The story is that you're Seto, and you wake up, and the entire human race is gone. There's nobody left. And you're basically roaming the earth trying to find survivors, but there's all these ghosts here, and some of these ghosts are creepy as hell, and you're gonna have encounters in this game that are just gonna shake your foundation. It is such a good game, and it truly is a dramatic horror game, and anybody who owns a Wii must buy this game and experience it, because it's truly a unique experience, and no matter what, it's a horrific experience.
And you will reach a tall red tower. I can't promise, but there you might find other survivors besides yourself. At that moment, I was truly alone.
Fragile Dreams. Farewell, Ruins of the Moon. Who are you? Tell me.
My name's...
The final game on this list. Now, some of these games have been kind of weird and unique games not a lot of people talk about, maybe something you haven't heard of before. This one, I talk about it a lot, and it's without a doubt the greatest horror game ever made, so it has to be talked about again. Eternal Darkness. Eternal Darkness, I do not mind. Okay. At one point, they wanted to make a sequel, like a spiritual success. It wasn't official, and that kind of went down the drain. I would have liked to see that, but Eternal Darkness for me is a complete story. It's a thing. Eternal Darkness is gorgeous. It is scary as fuck. It uses jump scares. It uses combat and mystery, and one thing that you just do not see a lot: Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft, come on. It's the birth of true gothic horror. So you play this chick, Alex Roivas, I think it's been a while since I played Alex Roivas, I think. And she goes to her uncle's mansion because he's murdered in the beginning, or she learns that he's murdered. It's been a long time since I've played it. And I've played through this at least 5 times. I want to say 6 times actually, because I'll explain why. Either way, so she goes to this mansion, and slowly you're uncovering the history of this mansion. You know, in the library and in all these rooms, there's all these stories that she learns about. You get this story that goes back thousands of years of all these different people. I think you start out with like a dancer, all the way up to, I want to say one of the last ones is a fireman. I think you play the uncle. That's the last one you play. But after every story, so you play as Alex in a mansion, you go to a story of the dancer in like the Mayan times, I think, like with the Incas and stuff. And then once her story ends, you go back to Alex in the mansion again. And she uncovers this trail of all these people throughout history that were used by the villain to bring back ultimate evil. And what you learn in the end, I won't spoil it too much, but the story accumulates and there's Lovecraftian horror that is just buried in the history of this mansion. And it is just such a beautifully, intricately woven story. But on top of all of that, the gameplay itself is just really good. So the scenes where you're Alex in a mansion, you're exploring the mansion, you're finding papers, you're learning about the history, and every time you meet a story of one of the characters, there's really good combat in it, and you're going through these crypts, for example, and you're fighting these zombies or these skeletons with your dual blades or with your axe. I think if you're a firefighter, you know. I think there's about 7 or 8, maybe 10 different characters throughout history that you're playing. You're playing a priest at one point even, and every character has its unique ability or unique way to fight, and it's very action heavy, but the Alex scenes are just very calm. And it's like original Resident Evil mixed with like, I don't know, God of War. Not because the combat is like God of War, but I mean like these two worlds that they're kind of colliding. And it all accumulates into this incredible finale where all these gameplay elements and all these stories just explode in incredible horror when you're learning what happened in this mansion. And I know I'm blowing this up way too much, but it is all of that. Eternal Darkness is that good. And it's... I want to say this, but it's like a hidden gem almost. Like everybody who owns a GameCube knows about it, but people who didn't give a shit about the GameCube don't know of this game's existence. And Eternal Darkness is a must play. From the ridiculously creepy cutscene through these Lovecraftian horrors that you go through. And something that I really like about this game is there's 3 paths that you can choose. There's basically you're choosing your villain. Okay, let me see. Zelatoth, Ulyaoth, and... I'm forgetting the red one right now. But there's 3. And they represent different things. The red one represented strength. The green one represented insanity. And the blue one represented spirituality. I'm going to put it like that. And depending on which villain you picked, the enemies in the game would be different. And the abilities you would learn would be different. And the cutscenes would be different. Because there's a bunch of really cool cutscenes. And depending on what villain you picked, the villains had different arch nemesis, because the villains were like a trinity of nemesis. And if you played the game 3 times, so you won with every villain, it would accumulate into this final thing. This game is that big, it is that massive, it is that insane, and it is without a doubt the greatest horror game ever made, in my opinion.
I had no knowledge of what was to come, nor did I care. And you shall surely perish. How the mighty have fallen.
Without your sacrifice, the world will fall into eternal darkness.
Check out that art. I just love this front cover always. So there you go. That is the 10th game on this list. If you have played some of these games, let me know what you think. If there's some of these games that you still want to experience, you know, let me see. Like, have you played this? Most people probably played this. Should this be on the list in your opinion? Curse Mountain, must check out. The Wii had crazy games out there. There's so many cool horror games out there. From like the classic, iconic stuff to games that just criminally undersold. There must be something on this list that tickled your fancy. Even if it's not by the stories behind the games, then it's the gameplay itself. Check out one of these horrific games and experience some true horror this Halloween. Thank you all for watching. If you like this content, please subscribe. I do a lot of top 10 stuff like this. I like talking about random video games. I do reactions, gameplay kind of stuff. You find everything on my channel, gaming related. And I love the horror stuff. That's just who I am. And I really want to bring that more into my channel as well. And what better way than Halloween? There's going to be 2 more weeks in Halloween. So there's going to be 2 more horror related videos at least. Among other things, because Friday is the Animal Crossing Direct. And I'm going to do a reaction to that as well. Thank you all for watching. And stay real.